You know what I found last night? I found what looked like a water cooler with a pump that was shaped like a grenade. Had a plastic external container that looked like a grenade, and the top had the grenade top, looked like it had one of those pins in it too. Purple, green, and clear. Right next to it was a pair of shoes. Somebody just left it there. You know how they like to leave little things like that. Some point in time in August, actually October 2018, I was in this very McDonald's and I was going through something and somebody was talking about the futures of young people I had known. One of the young people I had known, and I've been a teacher to for a while, was a genius. She was a math genius. But what happened is as soon as they started the regular school year, they flipped some bond on her, and the next thing you know, she's acting strange. She's acting like all she wants to do is dance and make funny faces and look at herself on camera and see how pretty she looks on camera. And that lets me know somebody was fucking spying on her. And they were looking at her like she was a sex object at 10 years fucking old. When we would try to have school, when we would try to have class, she acted very strange. She was acting with a sexual precocity that is not acceptable for a fucking 10-year-old. She had not been acting like that the previous week in school. She was doing that thing with math where she was tapping out. She's a math fucking genius. I was sitting here in the McDonald's that day, and they said, well, we want her to have a different future. We want her math skills to go to somebody else of a different demographic because we want people of those demographics to have her math skills. And so we want her to have another skill. And I said, no, you can't do that. That's not her destiny. That's not her gift. That's not her skill. Just because she's a young woman, by the way, a young woman of a certain cultural heritage, you don't get to say, well, we don't want her to have those math skills. We want somebody else we've already identified that we wanted to have those kind of math skills to be able to have her math skills. We're going to give her something else. No. I said, you're not allowed to do that. At that time, I didn't have any shoes. I had to go buy a pair of shoes that day, right? I only had a couple dollars. I bought the shoes I could. I ended up spending the most of the rest of the day in a meadow, very close to where I am now. A lot of strange things were happening. A lot of things were happening on a very high level. This was actually, I'm sorry, it was April of 2019. And I'm sitting there. And among one of the things is somehow I'm doing a evaluation with a military doctor. And so I'm talking to this doctor, and I'm asking this doctor information. I'm asking questions. I'm in this kind of spiritual place as well. It's very peaceful. The next day, I learned that that morning there had been a shooting at a synagogue in San Diego. So what I understood is somebody used a bond, a school bond, that was issued in that district. I had called the MSRB directly to file a report 3 times that week. They gave me one of these little hanky, well, I'm sorry, we can't help you with that. Call back tomorrow. Call back tomorrow. I'm sorry, the person you need to talk to is off for the day. They intentionally and deliberately executed that assassination effort at that fucking synagogue. But the deal was they wanted to use it to swap out a bunch of futures on little girls. They didn't want to have their own math. It was the boys that were supposed to have the math. The girls were supposed to have something else. That young girl, I believe, is a direct inheritor of the legacy of a Nobel Prize-winning physicist that taught at the university I once attended. I wasn't able to meet him because he died before the school year began. And I wasn't able to study physics because my professor insisted I have sex with him. And when I said no, he stole my high school diploma. He stole the money I had saved up over the summer in order to be able to pay for my school. And he intimidated and threatened me because he wanted me to have sex with him, and I said no. I wasn't able to study physics. Did somebody do something similar with the death of Subhavrim Chandrasekhar? Did they kill Chandrasekhar so they could swap out the futures of a bunch of young women that would otherwise have been very good at physics? Because they wanted the math and computational skills taken over by the men, the young men in development. And the girls were supposed to do what? Humanities? Social work? Casework? As of fucking today, you are not allowed to have anything to do with the futures of those children. You know exactly who the fuck I'm talking about. You are not allowed to loan out their mother. You're not allowed to loan them out. It's been over 5 years. You diabolical, satanic fucking lawyers know exactly what the fuck you did. And you and those people you co-conspired with around space competitiveness also know what the fuck you did. And the worst part is it's women. It's women running this ring. What kind of women think they're entitled to say to a young girl who I believe, honestly, they covet? She was gorgeous, she was brilliant, and I believe they were covetous. And they didn't want a little girl from her background and her community having those kind of skills as an adult. They wanted it within their own community, wanted their boys. And they were going to make her a girl in somebody else's community and then have their boys try to recruit the boys in her community to treat her the way they had already acceded to allowing to unfold. You are not getting away with this. Do not screw with her anymore. You know, she's still young enough. She can recover her math skills probably very easily. If you stop trying to coerce people into accepting that sexual exploitation of young girls is in any way acceptable, you had no right to covet a math genius and say, well, we want her math skills with one of our boys. We'll give her some other skill set. I don't fucking think so. Because in the meantime, you were willing to organize an assassination attack on a goddamn fucking synagogue. Because that's the kind of skill you wanted her to have, right? You wanted it to be all, yeah, I already fucking know. I heard you the whole fucking time. I also heard what happened when you forced members of that synagogue to go to the fucking hospital so you could set up how many fucking years of derivative agreements on their lives to harvest their minerals, to rape their people, and then to kick it back to your co-conspirators that may have shared some sort of ancestor in common. So you're legit. See, that young woman had a very specific ethnic heritage. If you're able to entice or extort her into cooperating with your crime, well, then you can say you have legitimacy. You got someone who's legitimately from that heritage in your fucking tongue. So they have a right to go recruit other girls. And they have a right to punish other girls that would otherwise be eligible, except they didn't agree to pay tribute to your fucking tongue. You need to stop your fucking diabolical goddess shit. This is nothing about goddess worship. This is nothing about reclaiming the sacred feminine. This is crime 101. And you guys didn't even do your own fucking books. Stay the fuck away from her. As of today, that shit ends. You lay off of her, and you lay off of all this bullshit about how you're going to harvest girls that are good at math, and then give them some boy to keep the fucking track record while you run them a fucking round and try to get them to doll themselves up. I'm sorry if that happened to you when you were young. You had plenty of fucking options. You women are around the same age I am, just so you fucking know. There's no more than a 10-year difference, plus or minus, between you and me. You could have made very different fucking decisions. You need to be fucking careful, because this is not about your fucking right to choose.